Global cues look good this morning. Here's Nigel with the world view.
Well, the U.S. markets really entered mixed overnight. The Dow ended mildly in the red. Remember, overnight we got commentary coming in from, Wilbur Ross. He said that, in fact, that the U.S. markets, they're miles and miles away from a trade deal. And he said there's lots more to negotiate before they get to that. So on the back of the return of some of those U.S.-China trade concerns, we did have some profit booking on some of those markets. Earnings, though, they're looking good. American Airlines as well as JetBlue, both of them came out with a set of numbers. Both those two stocks were flying away in yesterday's trading session. Remember, we have, the shutdown, U.S. government shutdown that's currently underway, 34th straight day. And the Democrats say that they may not allow President Trump to go ahead with the State of Union address till, in fact, they negotiate a deal and the government is restarted out there. So 34th day and running. Moving on, though, the European markets in yesterday's trading session, the FTSE again was a relative underperformer for the second day running, ended in the red. Other couple of markets ended the green. A few stocks that were in focus out there. Novozymes, that's one stock, in fact, that ended in the green, post its numbers. And the second one, Reckitt Benckiser, that ended lower with a cut of around 3.5% odd on the back of a brokerage downgrade. This morning, the Nikkei is the big outperformer. That's up close to 100%. The yen is moving back towards the 110-odd mark. Economic data as well supporting them out there. The core CPI data came in better than what the street was working with. And on the whole, the Asian markets, they were holding well in the green, and they continue to do that as we speak. The dollar index, that strengthened a tad bit, so keep an eye out on that one, 96.5 odd. Brent crude prices hovering around that $61.5 per barrel. The SGX Nifty, for starters, indicating a green start. Back to you guys.
Okay, indicating a green start. But you know what? We'll talk about equities in a bit. There's lots of other news taking place. The BCCI Committee of Administrators has revoked the suspension of cricketers Hardik Pandya and KL Rahul with immediate effect. Remember, both Hardik and Rahul were sent home from the tour of Australia after their derogatory comments on a TV show hosted by filmmaker Karan Johar.
You know, the important part was exactly as the news flashed, Shireen was talking to Karan Johar.
Yeah. And so common sense prevailed. I think, frankly speaking,
I'm sorry, I didn't like those comments.
No, that's okay.
That's a different
People
issue.
have said far worse things and got away, and if it was,
they shouldn't.
It was Bollywood.
That doesn't mean a smaller crime should not be punished.
Exactly. But I think it was way too much, and I think
you can question the proportion of the punishment.
Yes.
But unless you make an example, then it should have been a smaller punishment. I agree.
Yeah.
But it's about time we held. My point is, why wasn't Karan Johar punished? He should have edited it out, or at least apologized.
And if the same comment was made by some Bollywood stars, I think people.
But to be fair, he did come out with a written apology, and he mentioned that in other cases, it's nobody's career at stake. So this time I feel really sorry because it's young
people and hard-working people, talented people's career at stake. That perfectly is taken. But the point is, when the headlines came, Shireen was exactly at that moment speaking to Karan Johar on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum. So hear it from the man himself, his apologies and his delight.
When you're hosting the show, you have so many things that you're doing. You have 5 segments that you're going from one to the other. It's conversation. Very often, I've watched a show of mine much later and said, oh, what was I thinking when I said that, and what was going through my mind? A lot of times, your subconscious mind just kind of shuts down and the host in you takes over. And that's what happened. I have to say I'd be lying if I tell you that I felt uncomfortable. No, I wasn't. And I know that that's an unfortunate thing for me to say, because there were some uncomfortable things, of course, said, and I've taken complete responsibility because those questions were asked by me. I am responsible for what was asked on Coffee with Karan, and if that has offended people, I've apologized, because that was never my intention. My show has always been a bit of a frivolous, completely irreverent, casual, candid, sometimes edgy show that is not necessarily meant for people who have some kind of a serious agenda to watch.
It's not about being. This is not about serious agenda. I mean, this is going back to the conversation that we just had about the commodification of women.
It was, and I think that things went out of hand, perhaps, and it was not something that crossed my mind immediately. I would be lying if I said it did, and that perhaps is something I have to correct about myself.
So was the apology also because of the backlash?
Yes, of course. No, it was. Had you not given me that backlash, if there wasn't that backlash, I may have thought it was okay, and it's perhaps not okay. And I think the boys have paid the price for it, and I really hope that they can get back to playing cricket, because I think they have basically been punished, and as have I. And it's something that made me sit back and reflect. And I had a conversation with my mother right after the show, and she says, maybe you should have thought twice before you put out this show. And I said, maybe I should have. But the irony is that I was surrounded around women, none of whom came up to me and said anything. And they all said, great, fun, good, crazy, mad. No one came and said objectionable to me. And I perhaps thought that it was then, okay, the mistake is entirely mine. It is not theirs, because I'm the host. I'm the older one. I'm the more responsible person on that show. I should have actually second-guessed what happened, probably curtailed it, controlled it, stopped it. I didn't realize it, and that's why I'm completely apologetic about what happened.
You know, we were talking about Coffee with Karan. I believe that the BCCI has lifted the suspension on the two players who were on the show. So, a quick reaction from you?
Has that just happened? Because I'm not.
So.
Oh, really? I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. I feel relieved, and I feel I'm grateful to the forces to have lifted that ban on two incredible players who have probably, erred in judgment, as have I. And I'm older, and if I could, they're much younger. And sometimes the young and the restless should be forgiven and given another chance, and I'm glad they have been.
Okay, that's very true. It's important that people should be given another chance, but perhaps it's a message sent across the world, across India, to everybody.
Okay, well, the common joke doing the rounds was generally you get, banned by doing drugs, but sometimes you can get banned by having a cup of coffee as well.